Hi, I hope you're having a wonderful day, wonderful evening, wonderful afternoon. I'm finishing up with a little bit of gardening. I got some indoor gardening. I'm planting some cactus seeds here, and I just wanted to take a moment to talk about how I feel as though my life has changed in the 4+ years that I've been living here in the UK. Again, the family and I, Blair and our 6 kids, 4 kids at the time. We've had twins over here. We moved to the UK in 2020, and so we've been living here for a little while. And I want to talk about that experience and what I feel like that's been like for me to be here. So, not talking about the family so much. This is going to be really just my experience. This is Max's experience and how this has felt for me. First, a lot less stress. Now, that can be a lot of different reasons leading to a lot less stress. But first, let me take you back to what it was like before I moved over here. I lived south of Washington, D.C., had a really great home there, but I worked 65 miles away. So it was a 65-mile one-way trip. And then on the way back, 65 miles back home. That commute was just absolutely miserable. I think it was close to 2 hours one way each day. I was spending so much time on the highway. I learned, I learned a lot because I was listening to a lot of audiobooks to kind of help me cover that time. I used to talk to my mom on the phone a lot during that period, but that was every single day, a tremendous amount of wear and tear on my body and on my vehicles. That's not the case here now. I think my commute now is 15 minutes. So that was tremendous for reducing stress overall, just that highway driving stress. You know what? I've grown to enjoy driving here in the UK. Uh, when you drive according to the speed limit, there are cameras all over the place tracking everything. But you know what? Never been pulled over by a police officer because in general, the cops here aren't patrolling the highways to pull you over for speeding. If you're doing something outrageous, of course you will get pulled over, but that's not necessarily the practice here. So can you imagine 5 years not being pulled over for a cop? Even just normal speeding violations or normal things like that. So this just hasn't happened, reducing the stress level. Of course, you know that the UK in general has less crime than the United States. And you want to go look up the statistics, feel free, go Google it, check that out. You can check out the statistics. I'm not here to talk about the statistics. I'm here to just talk about what I think has led to me being a less stressed individual. And so stress will kill you, right? Stress can be really dangerous and detrimental to your long-term health. And I won't say that my health has been perfect the whole time I've been living here, but I have really felt a lot less stress as an individual just being here and existing in this space. It's been a wonderful location for me and the family here over these last few years, and I think it's been really good. I've enjoyed it. So a lot less stress. Tied into that less stress, let's go to number two because less stress is one. Let's move on to number two. Number two is I have a greater appreciation for walkable spaces and outdoor space. Of course, I did a video on the channel a couple years ago where I was talking about the those walk paths, those hiking paths across the UK that you could just walk across anyone's land and you follow those trails all across the place, everywhere. Those hiking paths, walking paths, that's just wonderful. So I've experienced a lot of walking paths, but I love the fact that the cities here are also walkable. We did a lot of videos on the channel where we go to a city, park the car, or go to a town, park the car, get out, and just go walk around the city center. I love exploring the city center. There's typically a cathedral there. There's some good food around there. There's a bit of shopping, local wares. So I love driving around the UK, finding a new city and exploring the city center. One of my favorites is going to be Lincoln. I mean, I love Lincoln. I love going to Lincoln. I haven't been in a little while. The last time I was there was a couple years ago. I think it was for the last Christmas market that they had, which they haven't had one of those. They stopped doing that. But I went to the Christmas market there. But aside from going to Christmas market, we would go to Lincoln a couple summers ago. We spent a lot of time up there. I think we went there like 2 or 3 weekends in a row just to enjoy the open space, walking around the city center, walking up the steep hill, heading to the cathedral. Lincoln is one of my favorite cities. Of course, I love Liverpool. Don't get me started on naming all the cities that I enjoy, but I enjoy a lot of the cities. I enjoy a lot of the towns. I love how walkable those city centers are. Again, drive there, park the car, and spend the rest of the day on foot, just exploring the space. Now, more recently, in the last year or so, we've left the city centers a little bit and we're getting more in touch with the natural environment. And I love the natural environment, the woods that are here, the streams, the lakes, the valleys. If we spent time over on Anglesey, if you've ever been to Anglesey, it is a beautiful place to go and you can really explore Anglesey, get out, do a lot of walking. We went down into Dorset. I did a little bit hiking down in Dorset, walking, hiking. Pretty soon here, I'm going to head over to the Peak District. I want to wait till it warms up a little bit, do a bit of hiking there. So I'm getting into hiking And the landscape here is absolutely beautiful. Last year, we went up to Scotland and we were up in the Highlands. And you want to talk about just breathtaking landscapes, just open vistas all around you on all sides, just absolutely beautiful. So there are so many places here that you can go, and it's naturally just so beautiful. So I love the forest. I love the beaches. I love all of the natural environment. I think is really wonderful. And I'm talking everywhere. We're talking Scotland. We're talking Wales. We're talking England. We're talking Northern Ireland. All right, we went to the Giant's Causeway in Northern Ireland a few years back. So we've had some wonderful trips and experiences, and that I think has gone back to number one, lowered my stress level and definitely gave me a greater appreciation for what it means to exist in this space and just kind of walk around and have a good time. And I've done this with the family. And of course, being a family man, that has also been a wonderful experience to get out there with Blair and we have the kids. Most recently we're out on the beach, we were kind of digging for some fossils and that was a lot of fun, just that fresh air coming off the ocean. And I'm enjoying that open natural space, that open environment. That's one, and that's two. Let's get you number three. And I think number three is going to be patience. I've learned patience in my time being here. One thing that's always said about the British is that the Brits enjoy queues. And I've learned to appreciate being in a good queue, being in a good line. I call it a line still. In my head, I say line. I know I say queue because I'm in the UK. When in Rome, right? I'm trying to fit in. I say queue. But in my head, I grew up. It's a line. But I've learned to appreciate that. The lines typically move forward. The queues are moving. You stand there, you're patient. The fact of the matter is, I've almost never had a situation to where you're in a queue and someone would rudely come up and break the queue to try to just jump in front. I want to go first, right? Everyone knows it's queue here, go to the back, take your time, wait your turn. And so that teaches patience. I've had to kind of get a bit patient in that way. I have noted that the roads are a little different here, that the distances and how the roads are made typically means that if I'm traveling a distance, it'll take a little longer to get there than in the U.S. The U.S. has more straight roads. Here, the roundabouts, which are great because you don't have to come to a complete stop. But I find that over time, it adds a little bit more time to get to locations. Not a complaint, not complaining at all. It just goes towards that patience. And it's just something you have to kind of learn to appreciate. Now, that could also be a factor of age. Gets a little older. I'm getting a little older. And so I'm learning to be a little more patient as I get older. Again, a family man, I have kids, and you definitely have to learn to be patient when you have kids, right? Kids are going to challenge you in so many different ways. And Blair and I, we deal with a lot of different challenges from my kids, but that also leads to patience. And I think the environment of being here also contributes to the patience aspect of it. To have two kids born here in this country, they're American citizens, right? So no questions about that. Blair and I both American. Our children are American. But I just think that it's so cool to have children who were born outside of the U.S. and they were actually born here. And that was such a wonderful experience. And everything worked out so well through that pregnancy. Again, I'm a little older. Blair's a little older. This was our fifth and sixth child, right? We'd already had four, and to go through that whole pregnancy and to do it outside of our home country was challenging. But to be honest with you, if we're going to be outside of the U.S., I don't think there's any place that we could have been that would have been better for us. We had a great experience here, working with the NHS, working with other hospitals, just kind of doing everything we need to do to be able to give birth to our twins and then to have them growing up here. And it's just been great. I've really enjoyed that. So we talked about less stress. We talked about a greater appreciation for outdoor spaces, green spaces, city centers, walkable cities. We talked about patience. Kind of in line with that, I really appreciate what I would call the compact geography. Now, the United States has some really great locations and some really great sites. I'm talking about Yellowstone, and I'm talking about the sequoias, the redwoods, the Grand Canyon, and so many other wonderful locations across the U.S., Mount Rushmore. Those places are vastly far apart from each other, right? If you wanted to go and see them all at one time, they're, oh gosh, they're so far apart. We actually did that when I was a kid. So my dad would pack us all in the car and we would literally spend 2 to 3 weeks on the road, just driving across the U.S. in the summer. So we had one trip that we call our Great Western Excursion, and we went up and we up into South Dakota. We went saw around Mount Rushmore and the Badlands and Sequoias, Redwoods, came down Highway 101. Just this big, massive loop, but that took weeks, and it was a great trip, a great experience. I mean, I would not want to do it in a car now with my family. I'd have to do that in something like an RV. That would be a great trip to do. But what I'm getting back to here is that the UK has such diverse geography, but in a compact space. So you can go to Wales, and I could be there in like 3 hours in Wales. I could also be in Cornwall in about 3 hours, and about 5 hours, 4 to 5 hours, I could be in Scotland. And the geography in each one of those locations, the culture in each one of those locations is different. The culture is a little different. The vibe's a little different. What you see is a little bit different. And there's so many other places that you could go to within a few hours, and you just get such a different feeling. You can get that in the US, but those spaces are just much further apart, and it just takes longer unless you're jumping on a plane to fly. I'm a driver. I love to drive, and I understand that the UK has tremendous access to public transit, right? And I know there's a lot of great public transit here, but I'm a driver. Just, I guess it's an American thing. I grew up in the country, and when I was 15 years old, I had my first vehicle, and I've been driving ever since. So I enjoy driving. It's kind of a thing that kind of lowers that stress level for me, especially when you can drive here. Because you hit these back roads sometimes, those little narrow lanes, and the leaves, and not the leaves, but the branches are all closing in, the hedges are closing in. It's a little scary, but it's also so fun to drive down those old tracks like that. Know that those roads have a long, centuries long history from when they were first created. And I guess I also appreciate that, the history that's here when you go into cathedrals. And the United States doesn't have that as long a history as some of the architecture here. We were on Anglesey, and I think we went to see the oldest windmill, I think in Anglesey. I don't know if it's the oldest windmill in England, but the windmill was built in 1775 and completed, I think, in 1776. I think the U.S. came into being in 1776. And drop down in the comments, let me know if I'm wrong. And I pray I'm not wrong. I should definitely have that point right. But 1776. And we're in a windmill, and we were talking to the miller, right? We were talking to him, and he was talking about it. And he says, hey, this windmill was built at the same year your nation became an independent country. And it was just kind of standing around. I was like, wow. And to be in a structure that has that connectivity in time, right? Not in space, but in time, connected in time to the US. I thought that was such a cool experience. So we've been in places that are much older here as well. I love going down to Stonehenge. I've done that for summer solstice. And that's a couple videos on the channel. Go check that out, where I go to Stonehenge and I'll spend the night out there for the summer solstice celebration. And to think about how old Stonehenge is and the fact that they move those stones from so far away. There's just so much history here, right? And there's a lot of culture here as well. So if you appreciate those things the way I do, you would enjoy coming to the UK, I think, for a vacation. So that compact geography, even when I'm talking about going to Stonehenge, it's not that far away. Within a few hours, I could be in Stonehenge. And some of those great locations back in the US just would take me so much longer to get to. So I appreciate the fact that geography is more compact, but also diverse. It's not compact and exactly the same in all those different locations. It's compact and diverse. So I really appreciate that as well. I want to talk a bit about number 5 for me. So compact geography is number 4. Let's talk about number 5. And I feel as though I become a bit of a foodie here in the UK. And I know the UK is notorious for not having great food. That's what people say. The food's not good. I don't have a problem with the food. Like I've grown to like it. I mean, when I first got here, and I think I ate a burger. It was a beef burger, right? And it did not taste good to me. And now we go and we purchase beef burgers all the time, and we eat them, and they all taste great. I actually have the inverse problem. Before, when I moved over here, I was a huge fan of Chick-fil-A. It was my favorite place to eat back in the U.S. is Chick-fil-A. And I've gone back to the U.S. for trips and travel a couple times, and I've eaten Chick-fil-A, and it didn't quite have that same taste to me anymore. And I was like, oh, my taste buds have shifted, right? But that makes sense. I've literally been living here for over 4 years. So it makes sense that my taste buds have shifted. Blair and I, we go shopping 3, 4 times a week, and it's because we're going and we're buying things as we need it. We want those fresh ingredients, and we go and we buy those, purchase those fresh ingredients. So it's a cycle of shopping that's very different than what we did in the U.S. In the U.S., we may go shopping once a week, once every couple of weeks. Here, we may go 2, 3 times a week because we're going to go get some fresh bread. We're going to get some fresh cheeses. We're going to get fresh meats. I love the fact that here, the way everything is labeled, it doesn't have a lot of preservatives in it. So if you buy it and it says best by date or use by date, I mean, it really means it. So we go and we buy ham, we buy different sandwich meats and things of that sort, and it don't have a lot of preservatives in it, and it says it has to be eaten by a certain date. You're only going to get a few slices in there. They're not giving you as much in the package. You're not paying as much, but you're also not getting as much. So you're going to eat it quickly, and then you have to go back quickly to the store to buy more. Once you get up used to that cycle, it's not so bad, and you're getting fresh ingredients. And the twins are in love with raspberries, strawberries, blueberries, but mostly raspberries. And raspberries, they really don't last long, right? They don't hold long in a refrigerator. Well, one, the kids are eating them almost as fast as you can put them out. They're shoveling them in their mouths. But two, they really don't hold very long. So you only get like 2 or 3 days with those raspberries. And so every few days, we're going back to the grocery store and we're picking up some nice fresh fruit. And it's more seasonal, I feel, as well. And that's something that is really, you have to get used to it, right? So you go to a grocery store and they always have watermelons, or they always have bananas. They always have these fruits that you'll enjoy year round. All the fruits right there. The fruit got shipped from all over the world. And sometimes it's great to eat fruit with a seasonality, meaning in the local area that you live in, the fruit is fresh, it's seasonal, tastes the best to eat it that way. So in a lot of cases, we're eating British only type fruits. In some cases, things are shipped in. I don't have a problem with that per se. I'm just saying I appreciate the seasonality of the fruit. I appreciate the freshness of the meats. I have grown to love British bacon. And if you don't know, then you just don't know. But, you open up a pack of U.S. bacon, it's all greasy. You open a pack of British bacon, it's dry, smoked, cured, uncured. I just find that I enjoy that taste so much better. Of course, the cheeses, one of the best burgers, beef burgers that I ever had. There's two. One was in Paris, and I may get this cheese wrong, but I think it's raclette. Raclette. I think it's like a raclette. And it's just this ooey gooey cheese, and they just kind of melted it onto the burger, and that was delicious. Another time that I've had a really phenomenal burger was when I had a Stilton burger, which is Stilton is a type of blue cheese, and we had a Stilton burger, and it was like a bacon burger with Stilton cheese. Oh my God, that was delicious. And so I think I've become a bit of a foodie while living here, and I think that's something that I've come to really enjoy. I mean, I enjoyed food back in the U.S., and there's some great foods in the U.S., but I think you can miss some of that freshness unless you're going to certain stores. Like you can miss that. And I've appreciated that. I've also grown to really love a lot of different types of cheeses here. So the cheese drawer is always full with different types of cheeses as we're trying new things, and we're really appreciating those opportunities to kind of dig into those really fresh ingredients. That's one of the things that I really appreciate here. That's 5. But you know what? Let me give you number 6. Let me jump in here with one more thing that I really feel has changed. And it's kind of this. You can see around me, the garden and stuff. And that's just because that you have here the Royal Horticultural Society here in the UK. And you have what is the preeminent botanical garden in all the world. It hands down, which is Kew Garden, which is in London. And I've been to Kew a couple of times, and it is absolutely phenomenal. But there are just so many great gardens and Royal Horticultural Gardens, Botanical Gardens, Birmingham Botanical Garden. I got my card just the other day. I went and got a year pass to the Birmingham Botanical Garden just the other day, and I was there over the weekend. And it's just a great experience to go out to the Botanical Garden. This nice little plant here. I need to water it, but I just have grown over the last few years to just I feel more peaceful. I feel more at peace, and that's something that I think is you can't beat it with a stick, right? If you can find a place where you feel that you can exist and you're less stressed. You feel as though you have a greater appreciation for your natural world around you. If you have more patience, you appreciate the travel, and has some foods that you enjoy. Get those fresh ingredients. Then I come home, I do a lot of cooking. I do the majority of the cooking here, guys. I don't know if you know that. I do a majority of the cooking, especially in the summer with a lot of the grilling. But if you could find a place like that where you can exist and you can be, then I suggest you be. I suggest you exist in that environment as long as you possibly can and just enjoy it. And if you're not in a place like that for yourself, then maybe you want to try to figure out what you need to do, what steps you may want to take to try to get to a place that you think you could enjoy. Life is long, but my dad used to say, life is also short. Another way he used to say it is, life is short, but if you make bad decisions, life can be really long. My dad had a lot of different witticisms and things of that sort that he used to throw out all the time. So, hey, those are my 5. I think I gave you 6, which is, I appreciate all the gardens that are available. Those are my 5 things and the 5 ways that I feel that I've changed in the last 4+ years of living here in the UK. Drop down in the comments. Tell me what you think about it. Tell me if you're here in the UK, what you like about living in the UK. And if you're in the US, what do you like about the US? If you're somewhere else in the world, what do you like about where you are, right? And I think that there should be an appreciation about existing where you are. For wherever you are, there should be some appreciation for where you are. But drop down in the comments. Give me your thoughts. Let me know what you think about it, guys. Again, I don't tend to do many videos like this. Hey, let me know in the comments if you want me to do a little more talking videos like this. We do a lot of travel videos with the family, and I'm throwing the kids out there all the time because we have such a great time with the family, and I love sharing those family experiences with you, and so I appreciate that. Let me know in the comments what you think about what I've said here and how you feel and what makes you feel at ease where you are. Okay, until next time, take care.